Good afternoon. Namaskar. So we are starting the first post-lunch session today. Uh, I hope everybody is settled down. Thank you so much. I just want your attention. So since this is a very important session that we are going to start, the session is on contribution of publishers in making India a book reading nation and a knowledge society. So to begin the session, first of all, I would like to invite our speakers to the dais. I would like to invite, first of all, the chair of the session, Shri Yuvraj Malik, Director, National Book Trust, India. A round of applause, please. I would now like to invite Shri Chandra Prakash ji, Partner Universal Booksellers, to the dais, please.
I am very grateful to Colonel Saab, Yuvraj Malik ji, and R.K. Mittal Saab to have given me an opportunity to be sitting here in front of such an august gathering. It's a very humbling experience to be sitting in front of just one of the greatest stalwarts of the book industry, Ashok Ghosh ji. I think I was in my half pants when I set my first eyes on him. And one also takes this opportunity to remember the stalwarts of the book industry, Dinanath ji, Vishwanath ji, O.P. Ghai Saab, Nandi Mehra. I mean, all these, we have had the occasion of meeting all of them. Narendra Kumar ji, we lost him 2 days back. And a host of these number of people, along with Ashok Ghosh, Ashok Ghosh ji, apologies. They are the unsung maestros of the Indian book industry. I would call it an industry, it's not an industry, the book trade. And Babu Shyamlal ji, Shyamlal Gupta ji, they have not only curated the book trade, they've also laid the roadmap for where we are today. And these are the people, the stalwarts who got together and created the roadmap for posterity. Hats off to them and hats off to you, sir. It's a humbling experience to be sitting and talking about you and in your presence. When I talk of the book trade, I speak about the booksellers and the publishers as in one voice because there is an umbilical connection between the two. The book trade in India, I've been shouting at the rooftops, but I've not been able to get this message across. The book trade in India is the most unrecognized and the greatest entrepreneurial success story of not only India but all third world countries. Why do I say this? People talk about the Green Revolution. People talk about the Milk Revolution. But has anybody talked about the printed book, curated revolution, curate in India, the publishing word revolution? Nobody's ever talked about it. Yet what is it? In 1940s, around the 1940s and during the independence, whatever content we got in India, apart from regional languages, was 95%, if not more, imported content in English. Forget the regional publishing, all else in English was all imported content. I think all of us, most of us would have read Song the Letter Sing, Hall Stevens and Sims, Arithmetic, Holderness Lambert, your grammar, Nesfield grammar, your N.N. Martin grammar, all that we've all read. But what has happened in all these in the past years? From a country which had 95 to 97% foreign content, we in India, in a matter of a decade or two or three, we brought it down today where the Indian content is estimated at around 60 to 70% Indian originated content. And not only that, it is exported all over the world. How did it happen? And who did it? Nobody seems to be aware of it. Curate in India, the publishing word, needs to be recognized. It was a revolution. Where in the world would you have another incident like this, where the government has not pitched in, not a penny has been spent by the government, and all this has happened silently by the book trade? What was the book trade? Around the 40s, all over the country, you had small shops sprouting up all over the country by individuals. Somebody had 10 rupees, somebody had 100 rupees, somebody had 1,000 rupees. And according to the resources at his command, they opened up shops all over the country, in every nook and corner of the country, which ultimately became the center points of their local population who was seeking knowledge. Similarly, in bigger cities like Delhi, Bombay, Madras, Calcutta, Agra, Meerut, you suddenly found printers sprouting up, and some of the printers evolving into publishing houses. And there was the story of the book trade which originated in India, and there was a communication and interaction and networking between these two groups. Once the bookshops became the center point of the local population, all the people seeking knowledge or who were concerned with knowledge would make a beeline for those. And during interactions, the local bookseller who would have noticed some spark in some individuals would say, Bhai Sahab, आप स्मिथ की क्यों पढ़ते हैं? Why don't you write? You are so knowledgeable. वो कहता है यार हम लिख तो दें लेकिन छापेगा कौन? And that bookseller at that time would have said, अरे आप लिखिए ना, हम बोलते हैं, हम दिल्ली में एक प्रिंटर है उसको बोलते हैं. He would pick up the phone and talk to that printer or the publisher and say, यार ये छाप दो. The publisher would say, अरे उसको बेचेगा कौन? And the bookseller would say कि भाई 20-25 आप बेच लेना, 20-50 हम बेच लेंगे, 100 कॉपीज ये बेच देगा, ये जो ऑथर है बिकवा देगा. And that is how this journey started. Similarly, if those individuals went to the printer or the publisher, he would ring up the bookseller, and in their conversation, they gave genesis. And both of us started giving hope, confidence to individuals that they could write and compete with Mr. Smith, Mr. X, Mr. Y, Mr. Z. And that is how this indigenous authorship came into this country. That is where it originated. And if we were able to transform the country, the landscape, the content landscape of the country from English-dominated, Western-dominated to Indian-dominated content, it had its genesis during that period, and on the shoulders of these sparsely educated, huge band of people across the country, sparsely educated, yet they had jazba of nationhood in their hands and service to the country. And that is what happened. Without money they did it. Without money they did it. And the government did not spend our money. They had no direct control on this, yet this transformation happened. Where in the world will you find a similar transformation like this without a penny being spent? This is Curate in India, the published word, revolution, which we must all talk about. The book trade. The booksellers are silent torchbearers of the country's march. If India is racing towards being the third largest economy in the world, and if our scientists, engineers, academicians, doctors are being recognized by people all over the world, the publishing industry and the book industry in India has played a very pivotal role for this to happen. I mean, it is amazing. You read the biographies, autobiographies of eminent people like as Yuvraj Bhai Sahab has just mentioned. You read the biographies, autobiographies of these eminent people, and you will find revelations about their journey of the earlier years in bookshops or through books, that how they were helped in changing their destiny and making them successful. That is what has happened. I mean, one would say from the early 40s to as late as the last decade, the book trade was the sole provider of knowledge and content to the country. Sole provider. It's only in the past decade that we find different intrusions and all kinds of things. But they were the sole providers. And most of us, if you remember, and people who were born before 90s, I mean, where did you go if you required some information? Where would you go? If you had a project to do, where would you go? You would go to a bookshop. And some would say they also went to the libraries. Yes, you're right. They went to a bookshop or a library. But tell me, where did the libraries get their reservoir of books from? From the bookshops. So the bookshops were the key. That is what has happened. And I go even further than that. I go to the extent of saying that every institution, the brick and mortar institution in the country, who has a foundation, its foundation is laced with the sweat, blood and toil of the book trade. There can be no institution where there has been no intrusion of the book industry there. How did professors come into existence? How did institutions come into existence? On the base of knowledge, and that knowledge came, the booksellers and the publishers were the only knowledge suppliers to the country. That is what this book trade did. And yet, we go unrecognized. Yet we go unrecognized. We are still not an industry. Every city, the bookshops in any city is an indicator of the cultural status of a city. You visit a city, you see the state of bookshops, and you can say that you can decide the culture of the city by that. India is the only oldest living civilization in the world. The only living civilization in the world. And our publishers have played a stellar role in the continuity of our traditions and cultures. They played a stellar role in the continuity of this huge tradition that we have in our country. And today, with the contraction in the number of publishers and booksellers, National Book Trust stands up as a tall beacon, assimilating, recording, publishing, disseminating the cultures and the traditions from the remotest corners of this country and in different languages, and preserving it for posterity. They need to be applauded for that. They need to be applauded for that. The advent of technology has been a great disruptor in the state of things in the country. The book trade has been no exception. The technology, basically, as far as the book trade is concerned, has been like setting the cat among the pigeons, and where the mouse holds supreme. So much is changing and so fast. So much is changing and so fast. I think in the past 5 years, the amount of change that has happened has not happened in the book industry in the past 30, 40 years. I mean, Ashokji would probably bear witness to it. And it is changing so fast. From booksellers to selling books, from publishing houses to self-publishing initiatives, PODs, print on demands, and the scourge of piracy. There are tremendous challenges which have come up now. But with the challenges come opportunities and options. Options not only for us, options for the other side as well. For the knowledge seekers, they have many options. When you walk into a bookstore, you are recognized by your face. When you go into a mall, you are registered as a footprint. And when you go online, you are recognized and registered with your fingerprint. The choice is yours. That is the choice which the new technology has given play. And this industry of ours, not this industry, the book trade of ours, basically has weathered many storms. And we've done it selflessly, as I've just explained. And we will continue to take up the challenges and adapt and innovate. When we had nothing and no wherewithal, we took the nation on our shoulders. Now with the experience of what we have, I'm sure we will take this country forward all over the world with a vision, and a vision which will, as influencers of thought and action all over the world, to be recognized once again as the wish gurus as we were earlier. And on a parting shot, I would just like to mention, they say, if a river dies, the city is not far behind. If a river dies, the city is not far behind. And if bookshops were to vanish, I can assure you, the culture of the country would be both on a leash and a lease. So thank you, friends, for the patient hearing. Thank you so much.